Hello and howdy there. Yesterday actually, I saw Looper, and I enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was really good. I'm going to give it an 8. I think it's definitely a solid 8, a really good picture. Might be the slight victim of high expectations. I did not see this on opening weekend. A lot of the people I know did. Well, one, it got really good reviews. I mean, it got outstanding reviews pretty much across the board. If you check Rotten Tomatoes and Metacritic, the scores are pretty damn high. So that, got me excited. And, personally, a few people were just going crazy about the film and saying that it was amazing and, whatever, the best thing ever. It's not the best thing ever, but it's, really good. It's smart. It's ambitious. It's ballsy. It takes chances. It's honest. It sticks to its own... it exists perfectly in the world that it creates. It sets up rules. It follows those rules. Those characters exist in that world, and for the time that we are watching the film, so do we. It's transportive. The special effects are amazing. I thought their representation of the future was somewhat hopeful and different in the fact that it looked relatively clean. I thought that, I think we're in the year 2073, something like that. I think in the 2070s. And, normally you go into the future and it's all, a dystopia. It's smog covered. It's dark. There's lots of neon. There's none of that here. It's clean. It's bright. It feels like there was some type of renaissance of sorts that we're just not aware of. So I liked that it was. I liked that it was different. I liked that it was unique. It had its own voice and individual statement, which should come as no surprise if you have followed the work of Rian Johnson, the writer and director. This is his third film, his third feature-length. I'm sure he did some shorts, and I know he's directed some television episodes. He did some Breaking Bad episodes. His debut film is probably, well, up until now, is probably his most famous and most talked about, and that is Brick, which is like this throwback. This crime noir film from like the 1950s, except it's set, in modern day, which was like, I don't know, 10 years ago or so. But yet everyone talks like, it maybe came out in, I don't know, maybe '02, and everyone talks like they live in the 1950s and acts like they live in the 1950s. It's just a really unique debut statement. I personally, well, one, I like Looper a lot better. My problem with Brick, I've only seen it one time. I never wanted to watch it again. My problem with Brick, both Brick and this film star Joseph Gordon-Levitt, was just that it was too cool for school. It was hip, and it knew it was hip, so it's like this hipster movie. And I don't really care for hipsters. So that, I thought it was really good. But again, maybe just had this tinge of arrogance to it. And I got that too with Looper. Just this, again, he knows that he's got a great idea, and he knows that there's not many other films like it. So there is just this tinge of, man, aren't I good? Which is attractive. It's magnetic. But at the same time, it's also like, geez, come on. We know you're good, but you don't have to let us know that you're good. It's not near as bad as it was in Brick, but I still got that, tinge. Also, with this film, it's not a complaint per se. I just think Johnson can show more skill of manipulation and hitting more emotions in one go-around, because I was really sucked into this film and was there, and I can't ever say that I was on the edge of my seat, but I was definitely like leaned forward and expectant and wanting to know what came next. It was just like this, the entire time. But that's it. That was it for the entire time. It's just this. There's nothing really funny. I never felt my heart strings pulled at. I may have chuckled a couple times, but that's just due to the subtle genius of Jeff Daniels. I think his performance. When you get a world-class actor to do a scene that is pretty much maybe 5 minutes or just more of screen time, you're always going to get something interesting. Because again, you give a world-class artist, something small to do, they're going to think of a lot to bring to it. And that's true in this case. Jeff Daniels is not in the film very much. I guarantee that his screen time is under 10 minutes, but yet he's what I think about the most as I, reflect back on this picture. He was really good. Impactful for the short amount of time he was on. All the acting was really good. Stars Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Paul Dano is in there for also a brief amount of time. I'm disappointed that it was Paul Dano, because I feel that it should have been Lucas Haas. I don't know why I think that Rian Johnson, he was loyal to Joseph Gordon-Levitt here and not loyal to Lucas Haas. I think that he should have given Lucas Haas something to do, because, Brick was basically Joseph Gordon-Levitt versus Lucas Haas. And whatever, I just miss Lucas Haas. I think he should have been in the film somewhere. Give him something to do, and the most obvious place for him to be is instead of Paul Dano. But Paul Dano's fine. Emily Blunt is also in it. She, doesn't have much to do. Her character has to just be pretty much concerned, the concerned mother figure, protective. I won't go so far as to call her character one note, but, there's not too many notes, but she does it very well. Again, all of the performances are definitely fleshed out and definitely believable, true, and good, even if it's not just fully fleshed out on the paper. They really bring a lot to it. Okay, so Emily Blunt, Jeff Daniels, very briefly, the dad from Raising Hope. I'm not sure of his name. I think he's hilarious. He's in it for a brief amount of time. Oh, and of course Bruce Willis. How am I forgetting Bruce Willis? I guess I really haven't said what the film was about. It's about time travel. You're in the year 2073, and I think that's pretty much where you are for most of the time. But 30 years into the future, so 30, what would that be? 3010 something? In 3010, time travel is a reality, but illegal. It's only used by, covertly used by governments and, like mafia. Basically, massive corporations and criminal organizations can use time travel because it's so strict and illegal. Also, another aspect of this world that we now live in is telekinesis is a mutation that's developed. I think they say like a quarter of the human population has the ability to move stuff with their mind, some to varying degrees. Nothing too, fantastic. No one's walking around, being a superhero or supervillain yet. So the time travel, these mafia families, they use these assassins to kill people who they send back in time and dispose of the body. Therefore, eliminating the problem, and they're killing a person that may not technically exist yet. When one of these loopers is on a job, it happens to all of them, they eventually close their loop. They have to kill the future version of themselves. And so Joseph Gordon-Levitt's Looper has to close his loop when his future self, played by Bruce Willis, comes back in time. But his future self is very smart and is prepared for such an eventuality, and escapes. That's kind of what's interesting, is he's working for the better of the world, but yet he's kind of the bad guy of the movie. He has to do a lot of bad things, but again, it's for the sake of the world, or so he believes. I thought that was an interesting character aspect. While I've got it in my head, I wish I had researched it. I didn't, because I really don't know how to find the title. I just can't think of the title of the movie. I can think of pretty much everything else about it. But this film made me think about two other films while I was watching it. And I always say that if you can watch a film and think of and you can see it connected to other good films, that it itself is a good film. But it is not a great film. I think when you watch a great film, all you should be able to think about is the film itself, and not see really any connections to any other work. Here I could not help but think about Source Code. I also can't help but think that this movie got a big boost and probably green lit because of the critical success of Source Code. And I think it did okay financially, so they knew that, time travel, science fiction, head-bending films were okay to do. So I think this film owes a lot to Source Code. I thought a lot about Source Code by watching this. I also thought a lot, and mostly, about the film I can't remember the name of. I only saw it once, and it was on DVD. I probably have a review of it recorded, but I haven't gone back through them. Anyway, the film is about time travel. You have these two young scientists who discover time travel, and then they get so wrapped up in it that they eventually just have to, they keep sending themselves back in time or forward in time. It was, as I recall, a very trippy, heady, confusing movie, because again, you're dealing with time travel, and they eventually just have to start killing the copies of themselves, to preserve the timeline. I really can't remember that film. I think it came out maybe in 2005. It hasn't been too long, maybe 5 to 7 years ago. I wish I could think of the name of it. If I had done, a decent amount of homework, I probably could have thought of the name of it, but if you can describe to someone that film what I just described and somehow think of the name, if you can leave it as a comment or something, help me out. But I thought a lot about that film, and I thought one aspect that, while thinking of that film, that made me enjoy Looper more is the film that I can't think of. It was really good. It was a very independent feature. That's, it had no stars in it. I think it was a directorial, debut from just these young guys who wanted to make this movie. And I don't know if they've done anything since. Man, it's just really killing me that I did not find the name of that movie. But, you know, it almost gets bogged down in the, you know, physics, the practicality of it all, you know, the mind-bending time travel, you know, is it possible, is, you know, all that stuff. It gets confusing. Where Looper, they just come out and say it, you know, I'm not here to talk about time travel. And so they don't talk about time travel. They set up some rules that their world follows, and then they stick to those rules, which is nice. So it's, you don't have that, oh my god, they're talking about, you know, time travel and it's so confusing and, you know, what are they talking about? And even with source code, it got to be, you know, a little of that. What I thought source code had that this film doesn't is mystery. You know, there's a lot to talk about afterwards, you know, think about with source code. This, you know, I don't think there's, you know, much to think about. I think it really wraps up quite nicely. It's, I mean, it's like a present, you know, it's got a little pretty bow on top. It's nicely wrapped. So I mean, there's not, it's just a expertly executed story. So there's really not much to think about. There's certainly no element of mystery. You know, it wraps up its own story, which is nice. They'll probably find a way to make a sequel of it nonetheless. But really, I thought, you know, it was expertly told. But, you know, nothing to... There was no head-scratching moment. You know, it was just this nice tale of, you know, protection. And what is the act worth? You know, is it worth taking one life to save many, many more? So I guess there are some philosophical questions. But really, I don't, you know, again, what I'm mostly thinking about the day after seeing this film is basically just the Jeff Daniels, really. But it's just a really good movie. Certainly, again, not the best thing ever, which you might be hearing. So I don't know. I really enjoyed it. I can't think of much else to say. I think I got all my points that I wanted to make. And so yeah, that's it. So that's Looper. I give it a solid 8. Definitely a highlight of the year. And thank you very much.